Hundreds of bodies found behind a Mississippi prison.
A prison?
Spark community-wide outrage. So, have you heard about this yet? How there's like a few hundred bodies that have been found in unmarked graves in Mississippi and Jackson?
No.
Yeah. And it's really strange. I cannot find a ton of information about it. It says over 200 bodies were found alongside unmarked graves at Hinds or Hinds County Ruper's Paupers Cemetery, located behind a prison in Jackson, Mississippi. A news reporter continues to surface and make regional and national headlines. Family members of the deceased are seeking action. So it sounds like they haven't put a lot of resources into finding out exactly what was going on here. But it seems like, based on everything that I've researched, that all the bodies are tied to and or related to the prison. But what's weird is there were a couple of statements of people that were related to these, to one of the bodies or whatever. And they said that they weren't even told that their family member died. They were in prison and then gone. They ended up filing a missing person and finding out way later that they had passed. And it just sounds like whatever was going on here. And it says in multiple of these articles that Mississippi's known for being pretty corrupt in the way that it manages its prisoners.
It is.
And it's just disgusting that they didn't have the respect for a human in this way. It doesn't matter if they're prisoners. That doesn't, just because you did something wrong and you're being held accountable in the justice system that is owned and controlled and voted for by the general public, doesn't mean you lose your human rights. And this almost feels like that's what was going on here. Like, oh, you're just a prisoner. Like, who cares? You don't have no rights, you know? And they're just burying them randomly because what? A guard beat them to death or something?
You still have constitutional rights. You still have human rights, and those absolutely deserve to be respected. You know, do you know if this was a private or a state prison? Do you have any idea? Almost guarantee it's a private prison.
I can almost guarantee it's a private.
I mean, it has to be. But you know how many stories I've heard of families saying that their loved one passed away or they can't get into contact with them in prison? And if they do pass away and are told, they don't get to know how they passed away. They don't get to know anything. It's ridiculous. Like, in this day and age that you have, I'm sorry, it's just like the 6 Mississippi officers who beat that man to death tortured those 2 men to death.
I know.
And then shot one, and they survived, but he was permanently disfigured. Who did it because they were racist. Like, Mississippi still has some really backwards politics, law enforcement, government, very backwards, unfortunately, from a lot of the things I've seen coming out of there. Like the Eddie Parker and tragedy that happened last year to this had to have been going on for so long, and prisoners were passing away, and they wanted to keep getting paid for those prisoners by not reporting them dead.
Oh, I didn't think
and
of it
hiding
from that
them
angle.
And burying them out back. And maybe it was also cases of brutality and murder by prison guards or prisoners. Maybe they have gangs running crazy in here, you know, who are controlling the place entirely. And those are all their, you know, victims out back. Like, there's many aspects that could be a part of this, but this is absolutely corrupt and wrong. And this needs to be investigated very deeply. And this kind of stuff there should be enough oversight. This isn't possible. There shouldn't be somebody who goes missing in the prison system. That shouldn't happen.
I agree. And, you know, I've often wondered, because we've talked about the prison system quite a bit, and is there not a federal, the federal government just needs to hire one person that is specialized in all things prison law, standards,
Yeah.
expectations, that is a government employee that their whole job is traveling from prison to prison to prison to prison to make sure that these private prisons are up to the standards and offering these prisoners their human rights that they're due and owed, regardless of if they're a prisoner of the state or the federal government. It doesn't matter, to help prevent situations like this, because I agree, this is horrible. I didn't even think about it from the point of view that, they just wanted to continue getting paid, because these private prisons do get paid per inmate. But I agree. I think there needs to be a very in-depth and lengthy and complex investigation, talking to anybody that was working there from the time that they find out these bodies started until the end. Most of these didn't even have markers there, and the ones that did was like a metal pole sticking out of the ground, a tree branch, like weird random markers. Like, these are human beings, not just human beings, but citizens of the US, man. And
How many of them were in there for small infractions, like, carrying a bag of weed, or, getting in a fight, or, just stupid stuff? How many were innocent? Like, it just because they're in prison doesn't mean they're the worst of the worst,
I agree with
So,
you.
and
It's
even if they
crazy.
are, they still have rights, whether we like it or not.
I agree with you. I mean, I like them to have rights. They should have rights.
They should.
Because people make mistakes, and we should offer them accountability and the possibility to change how they do things.
Exactly.
Rehabilitate them to realize the benefits of following the laws of the citizens and our public and the US. So
It's so
if we're
messed up.
just doing things like this and then burying them behind a prison without letting family know, without giving them a proper burial, are we even following the law and
No.
making sure that it's sanitary here? Because you cannot just put hundreds of bodies straight up in dirt. Like, even when they've done it in times of war, they follow certain protocols with lye and things like that to increase the decomp so that it doesn't poison the ground and stuff. But that's a side note here. First, they need to figure out who each of these people are family members to, why they're dead, how they're dead, and when they died, and then start digging into those records, man, because something's up here.
Something is up, and it's really sad that prison is not rehabilitation in our country whatsoever. Not at all. It is the place where you go to become a better criminal or to die.
Yep.
That's what prison is. Very few people learn from going to prison. And for those people that do learn, it's absolutely miraculous.
Yeah. But let me know what you guys think. You. Leave it in the comments below.